Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. If you didn't catch last week's episode, I highly encourage you to go back. We got to interview Cameron again. Very good insight that he had about college now with all the restrictions and everything going on. And hopefully it'll give some parents and college kids some hope in that it might not be as bad as you think. And today we're going to be talking about resolutions, pretty much why they don't work, and how to properly set goals. And to start off, one of the reasons why I feel like resolutions do not work, and I know that Matt and I really don't set them anymore because we've seen multiple times how they do not work. And I feel like there's a couple reasons. One of them being that it is like playing to lose instead of playing to win. I feel like a lot of us can have the willpower to stick it out for 30 days or whatever your goal is. You know, maybe you want to lose 10 pounds by the end of January, get rid of the holiday weight, that kind of thing. And we've done that. However, on February 1st, it's like we've snapped back to our old habits of whatever we were doing before we set the resolution. And we might gain that poundage back plus more. So it kind of ricocheted on us and didn't really do what it was supposed to do. And then, you know, your resolution really didn't work, even if you did hit the goal and then you reverted back to what you were doing. In my mind, that is not a win. And I feel like that either happens or we get discouraged and we quit. And that's why so many people have already given up on their New Year's resolutions by the second week of January, which is crazy. And if you are a gym goer, then you know this because you notice that your gym might be packed January 1st until the middle of January, or even until February or Valentine's Day-ish. It can fall off a lot there as well, that you can see, oh, okay, these people that, you know, wanted to make these changes, great, they're in the gym, but a couple weeks goes by, you don't see them anymore, they stop going. And I feel like that, you know, that's another reason why people don't stick with the resolutions. And I feel like even just using the term New Year's resolution can have a stigma to it. And that has also turned people off, I feel like, from holding out, you know, from being able to make that more of a lifestyle change to where it's actually something that's benefiting them and they're hitting their goal constantly and keeping it that way instead of, you know, hitting it once and then reverting back to what they were doing before. But Matt, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things within that. You know, a goal is the final objective, but what you're going to need along the way is the daily habits and the small little targets to hit along the way to keep you disciplined to get there. So if your goal is to lose 30 pounds or 10 pounds or whatever it is, you need to set yourself up for the daily habit and that little target along the way to achieve that final destination. But it has to be set up as a lifestyle change, not just a little bit of, hey, I'm going to do this for a short amount of time, because that short burst of energy or short burst of commitment, whatever it is only for a short time. That's not a lifestyle change. So you won't have a lasting effect. So for instance, if you, like you said, on the 10-pound thing, like, okay, so for let's say for 5 weeks, I'm going to eat salads and stay to a strict diet, and I'm going to finally achieve that 10-pound weight loss. But then on, you know, let's say it's week 6, I go back to eating McDonald's. That's not going to be a lifestyle change. That was just a short-term change. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in short-term changes, and it's really setting ourselves up to be defeated long-term, because if you want to focus on the long-term gain over the short-term gain. And, you know, with goals and stuff like that too, is that, you know, I felt like there was a lot of stuff that along the way that we've done and stuff that we've kind of won at and failed at, but you don't want to set goals that you're not going to do, because you're going to set up a scenario where you're unhappy with yourself. And what I mean by that is I'm not telling you not to set goals. I'm not telling you not to do things that would set you up for success. What I am telling you is that right now, if you have, let's say, $5,000 in your bank account and you set a goal to be a millionaire by the end of the year, that may not be realistic. Now, I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm not saying you can't be Grant Cardone and make that happen. But, on the likely chance that you haven't been a millionaire before, that may not be an ultimate goal. However, if you do set yourself up to say, hey, I want to, have $20,000 in the bank account by the end of the year, that may be more achievable based on your income, based on whatever investment you have or whatever. That may be more achievable before you. But you don't want to set yourself up for a scenario to be unhappy, because I think that we've all done that at certain points in our lives. So then we stray away from goals that would be able to help us long term. But because we set this high, unattainable goal that we fell really short on and it made us unhappy, now we don't want to revisit any goals at all. Because I know that's been a case for us in certain points in our life.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like it's important to set realistic goals, like Matt said, and it's good to have short-term and long-term goals. Now, your long-term goals can be a lot more lofty than the short-term, but like Matt said, don't be disappointed if you're not a millionaire tomorrow, because that's your goal. I just feel like, you're deceiving yourself, and it's almost more of a wish than a goal at that point. You need to make something more realistic for you. Not that you can't achieve big things, because we totally believe in that people can achieve anything they put their mind to. However, you do need to be realistic with the time frame of it and not expecting, nothing great came overnight. So just remember that, like, it's going to take work, it's going to take time, it's going to take discipline to reach those goals, but it is important to make sure that they're realistic. Another thing is being specific with them as well. Like we had said earlier, about maybe a weight loss goal. Don't just say, I want to lose weight. That's way too vague. What does that mean? Does that mean a pound? Does it mean 20 pounds? Is it 100 pounds? Like, what do you want to lose? You need to be specific about it. And the more specific, the better off you are to actually do it. I feel like that's very important. And also having an accountability partner, or just telling it out in the open. I feel like even some of the things we've said on this podcast, because we've said them on the podcast, it's like reiterated it in my head. And then I am so much more likely to be that way anyways, just because I've said it out loud. I am now held accountable by what I've said on this podcast. And I feel like Matt feels the same way too. What we say, we want to be accountable to who we are. And that's been a really humbling experience for sure. Times that I've needed to listen to my own podcast just to kind of get my butt back in gear. But I feel like having accountability, whether it's with yourself, you put it online, you get an accountability partner, maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a friend. I feel like that's really important. And it's proven that you are more likely to hit your goals if you tell somebody about them, and if somebody can hold you accountable to it as well. Another idea that we've done that's been very helpful, because we're both very futuristic and very visual people, that we do vision boards. We have a vision board in our bedroom. We have a couple in our office that we don't have hung up right now, but we actually need to go back and add some things to them, because life has changed since we've made them. But it's important to have those vision boards, whether you do one as a couple together or you have your own, depending on your situation. Have your kids do them. I think that's important too. And it's really, we just paste pictures from either magazines or the internet of things that we want, for our goals, whether it's a place we want a vacation or a house that we want or something like that. And as well as we've got a picture of a couple holding hands, because our relationship is so important to us that we want to make sure that is also included on our vision board, that we are a strong couple together. So I think having the vision board, if you don't have one already, make one. And it's fun. It's fun to make it. Like, make it an event to make your vision board. Take a night and do it. Maybe do it with friends, or do it with your spouse or your family. You can really make a fun deal out of it. And then that might make you stick to it longer as well, because you've put the time and effort into it, and put it somewhere where you're going to see it often. Now, if you make this vision board and you store it in a closet, it's not really going to do anything for you. So it's important to have it somewhere where you're going to see it often, because your subconscious mind works on those goals. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is trying to figure out, how can I make this happen? I need to make these happen. And if you see it all the time, that's going to help. So ours is put in our bedroom, really in a high traffic area. So we pass it all the time, like especially in the morning and at night when we get ready for the day and when we're getting ready for bed, that we definitely see the vision board. So make sure it's somewhere where you're going to see it. We've even put pictures in our cars, on the background on your phone, on your refrigerator, somewhere that you're going to see it that's going to make an impact. Even at your office, if you are in an office, whether it's a home office or you're in a building somewhere, that you can, have pictures up. I think that's very helpful to have that visualization of your goals, because you're going to be so much more likely to actually achieve them, especially if they're in your face all the time.
I think that one thing that you said there was just so important is really just making it visual for you, because I think sometimes we want to come up with all this stuff, but we haven't put it in our vision. And I think sometimes you really have to focus in on your vision, on how you can actually achieve the goal. And I think that one thing that really kind of coincides with that is that you don't just need to show up, you need to open up. And I think that for me, sometimes with what that means to me, and sometimes what I've done in the past, is that I've been so strongly focused on one area that I never fully opened up to really encapsulate other opportunities and to be able to really achieve that maximum lifestyle that I really wanted, because I was so closed off. And I think you need to open up and being able to accept multiple things, because, for instance, like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and I'm only going to do this diet. Well, then you talk to a nutritionist and you're like, oh, well, maybe I need to think about something else, but if you never talked to the nutritionist, you would never opened up, and you would never realize that, hey, this food may be better for me than the food that I actually picked out for my diet. And I may be able to achieve my results faster if I take this advice. I know that's something very simple and something that would seem basic, but sometimes when it comes to business or to dieting, to weight loss, to working out, to whatever it is, sometimes you close yourself off and you're not able to really achieve that full effect of what you really want to achieve.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like that goes perfectly with this next point, is that if you do get thrown off track with your goals, start back up. It's okay. Nobody's perfect. We are not perfect with the goals that we set. There's ups and downs. It's going to happen. Just don't give up. If that's really important to you to hit that goal, the important thing is to keep going. It doesn't have to be perfect, and rarely is anybody ever perfect with their goals. I don't know anybody who is. Even people that have achieved amazing things still fall off course. So it's just the whole thing, like back to the weight loss, because that's just such an easy example. Say you're on this strict diet and then you mess up one day and you have a cupcake and you weren't supposed to. And then you're like, screw it. I'm just going to have 5 more cupcakes, and then I'm going to eat a bag of chips, and I'm just going to eat everything else in the pantry because I messed up. I feel like that is a terrible mindset to have. I've had it. I've done that. I've definitely done that before. Just pretty much eating everything in the fridge. So the important thing is to get back on track. The faster you get back on track, the better. And that's, I think, what separates people who achieve more than people who don't achieve their goals, is the ability to get back up once you get knocked off course, because it happens to all of us. Life happens. There's things that happen that are way out of our control. So it's important, though, to get back on track as soon as you can and go back towards those goals, and to be okay with it, to give yourself grace in the process, and to know that it's not going to look perfect. And that's fine. That's totally fine. It just matters that you don't give up and that you keep going towards your goals.
Yeah, I mean, actually, there's so many things of wisdom within that, because I think for most people, sometimes it's easier to lay in pain and deal with a disappointment than to get up and really show up again, because you don't want to deal with the disappointment of coming up short again. And I think that sometimes realize that the goal that you set or what you were trying to achieve may not have been for you at that time. And that's okay. And I think that sometimes I've dealt with so much pain of coming up short in certain areas that I never chased down that dream again. And I think that just the wisdom of knowing that is extremely valuable. So don't continue to lay in pain just because you came up short. Understand that you may achieve that goal later on, as long as you stay within what you're really trying to accomplish. And sometimes you need to adjust fire, and you may actually get something better than what you were trying to reach for if you could understand that that may not be what you were meant to do at this time. Because sometimes timing's everything, and we actually focus so much on the disappointment that we don't realize it was just about timing, not the fact of the effort that we put in to actually win at that time. And I know that this kind of coincides with that as well. And sometimes you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish if you don't care who's right. Because sometimes we let ego and pride get in the way, and we want to be right, and we don't want to take it as the fact of what we could have accomplished if we would have just teamed up with somebody. For instance, sometimes I want to be right with Ashley. I want to be right. I don't care at the time, but because I want to be right. But sometimes she is right, and I just need to move on, and I want to try to fight with her a little bit instead of not caring that she was right, and we could just move on. And sometimes we land that limbo phase, whether that is with a boss, with somebody you're in a relationship with a friend, whatever. Sometimes we hold this grudge because of pride and ego, but we could have actually gotten over this faster and actually won, but yet we're going to accept the loss and lay in pain versus just taking that and swallowing your pride a little bit and say, hey, you know what? You were right. And now I can move forward and win faster.
That's awesome. And hey, that's on the record that he said, sometimes I'm right.
I'm waiting for the opposites here.
So. Yes. And on the record as well, sometimes you are right and I'm stubborn. We're both stubborn. So sometimes that equals a very bad time for us because we're both very strong-willed people. But that's also been very beneficial for us as well. However, so now it's both on the record that we both said that we've both been right at times that we didn't want to admit it. And I also think it's important to set goals with your partner, to have that, whether it's 1 or 10 or however many goals you want to set with them, to have something that the two of you are working towards is so important, because I feel like our lives can get so busy. And we can, it's most likely that you're not doing the same profession as your significant other. So we can grow apart from each other pretty quickly. But if we have a common goal that brings us together, and that's something, that we get to work on together to make sure that, our relationship is strong and that we're not just growing apart from each other, because I feel like that's why a lot of people aren't together anymore, because they're not going towards a common goal. And maybe they were in the beginning and that's what united them. And then once you get away from that, that can be a recipe for disaster. So I think that having at least one goal, or a family goal with your kids involved too, is very important. Just something for everybody to unify around, I think, is a great idea. And it just brings everybody closer together. And then once you accomplish that goal, being able to celebrate it with the people you love and that everybody contributed to it is awesome. That's such an awesome feeling. And I highly suggest, if you haven't done that, you haven't set goals with your family or with your partner, that you do so, because it's definitely something that's going to make you stronger and that's going to be well worth it in the end. And it's also important to keep in mind that it may not happen the way you think it's going to happen. Be open to adjustments. Like Matt had said earlier about adjusting fire, be open to adjustments. There's goals that we've set as a couple that we've hit, but not in the way we thought we were going to. And if you had asked us, beforehand, hey, if this is how it goes, is that okay with you guys? We'd probably been like, absolutely not. That's not how we want this to work out. However, God had a different plan for us, and to be open to different ways of hitting your goals and making adjustments along the way is key. I think that's so important, and that will keep you on to that goal longer because you're open to that. Because if you're so set in one way, like, hey, I have to hit this goal this way. If it doesn't happen this way, I don't want to do it. You're going to close yourself off from a lot of opportunities that would probably bless you if you were just open to the opportunity for it to be different than you thought it would be in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that have went different than we thought it would in our life. And I think that sometimes when we're trying to achieve certain things, we need to realize, am I trying to become an expert or am I trying to get better? And I think that sometimes we don't want to move until everything's perfect, until everything's just right. And understand that business, life, money, all of it is ever changing and ever fluid. And I think that sometimes when we realize that nothing is ever going to be perfect and nothing is ever going to fall the way that you really think it's going to fall, and you're going to be throwing a lot of curveballs, you're going to be throwing a lot of different things along the way, and understand that being able to adjust is way more important than being perfect. And I think that that was one of the things that is always difficult when you're starting out doing anything. And that can go with goals, it can go with business, it can go with life, it can go with just about everything. Being able to adjust is so big in so many different ways versus being perfect. And you just have to be able to know that you need to get better every day so you can adjust, because getting better is a part of adjustments. And when you can kind of tie those two things together, everything will kind of change as far as your goals in your life and your business and everything like that. It's all going to be more fluid for you to be able to, and it really makes your life easier when you're able to adjust because you've gotten better.
Yeah, you're definitely preaching to the choir, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, and there have been many times that I haven't moved because I wanted it to be perfect before I took any action. And that has hindered me so many times that at this point, I'm like, God, you win. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I need to stop waiting for something to be perfect, because you're going to miss out on so many opportunities if you think it has to be perfect before you start. Nobody's perfect. It's okay. People mess up. We're human. We are not robots. So I think it's just important, if you are like me and you struggle with perfectionist tendencies and you just want everything to be just right, just know that that's not going to happen. You need to let that go now. I've had to deal with that more times than I'd like to admit. And it's definitely something I want to get away from, because it's hindered me instead of helping me. And I definitely want to get better instead of worrying about, hey, I've got to be the expert. I have to be perfect at this. And I think, that's just really important with your goal setting, and just knowing it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not. As long as you're on some sort of track towards your goal, it doesn't have to be the way you thought. That's what matters. And just wrapping up, I feel like, if you haven't set goals before, really sit down and think about it, because it will give you purpose. It will brighten your day to know that you're moving towards something to make you a better person, and to take more ownership of your life instead of just letting whatever pull you which way or not. I think that it's important to have your own goals, and having goals, as a family as well. I think all of that's important, just to be striving towards something to make you a better person.
And with that, I think that being the best person you can be is really what you're really trying to strive for. And understand that sometimes you could be waiting for something that you haven't worked for yet. I think sometimes in life, we have worked for certain things and we've already achieved it. And sometimes you could be waiting around for something that you haven't worked for fully yet, such as a promotion, such as, a relationship, such as whatever it is, money, whatever it is. Understand that that doesn't make you a bad person. And understand that you just need to get better every day so you can become the person when that opportunity is available to you. And I think that if you can really set a firm foundation in all of this and just be the best person that you were meant to be, everything else will fall in line with money, with relationships, with the business, with whatever it is you're trying to achieve. All you have to do is just be the best version of you and own everything that you do. And then everything will start to change for you in your life.
That's awesome. And like always, if this message impacted you, or somebody that could benefit from it, please share. Please subscribe. That helps us get the message out to more people. Rate and review us. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.